head of the Thai Red Cross Department of Rehabilitation, volunteered after his own nephew took the pills.
After my nephew, then I went to Bangkok every Sunday and observed many patients. Some of them carrying in a stretcher. In 2 weeks, he can sit and come to the hospital. And another 2 weeks, he can walk with some help. So it's dramatic. I can see dramatic change.
The free distributions were promoted by the foundation of retired Police General Salang Bunag. Salang's tough-on-crime career makes him a folk hero to many Thais. But his reputation also prejudiced many against V1. In 1996, Salang ordered the summary execution of 6 drug dealers in his custody. 20 years earlier, he commanded police and paramilitaries in the Thammasat University massacre of scores of leftist students. Without Salang's political clout, V1 may never have seen the glare of media attention or survived the bureaucratic infighting that followed. But by the spring of 2002, General Salang had severed all connection with the Bambakong clinic. To survive, Mr. Vichai started charging for the pills, about $20 for a month's supply, though the clinic still gives them away to people who can't afford them. V1 poses a quandary for the Thai Food and Drug Administration. No drug or vaccine has ever been invented and developed in Thailand before. V1 has a federal R&D drug permit, but also, strange as it sounds, is licensed as a food supplement. The biggest hit to V1's reputation came when Dr. Somsong Rakpao, then head of the Communicable Disease Control Department, declared to the press that V1 was ineffective, citing a study by his Special Investigative Committee. In fact, the committee's final report said something quite different. In Dr. Somsong's study, only 1 blood test was performed on the 40 V1 patients, so no before-after comparison of blood cell and viral load counts was possible. The committee determined that V1 was safe and recommended further study of V1 conforming to Western standards in order to evaluate its efficacy. Dr. Somsong was reassigned to, quote, non-active duty a week later for allegedly taking kickbacks on government mosquito control programs. But the damage to V1's reputation was done. V1 Immunitor is a vaccine because it uses the virus itself as an antigen to induce an immune response. Mr. Vichai puts tiny quantities of whole HIV virus, killed and chopped, into a pill made mostly of innocuous magnesium and calcium. Independent labs have confirmed the safety of V1. The pills have no trace of live HIV virus, and in toxicity tests with mice, at dosages equivalent to a human taking 2,000 V1 pills per day, not a single mouse showed any ill effect. Dr. Aldar Burinbayar is an American AIDS researcher who teamed up with Mr. Vichai.
The antiviral therapy was a pretty good advance in AIDS treatment, but it's just basically buying a time, because we realize now that drug toxicity is unbearable. There's a problem with the resistant viruses, problem with the patient dropout, and it basically helps only 50% of patients. What we need is a vaccine, and it's preferably low-cost vaccine, and it's easy to administer.
All previous AIDS vaccines had been injected into the bloodstream. They tried to promote antibodies, protein blockers that would stop the HIV infection. But for 15 years, the antibody approach has failed.
We realized that we need to do something radically different. So what we're doing is we developed an oral vaccine, which is taken as a pill, and we are targeting cell-mediated immunity.
Only 5% of the body's immune cells are in the blood. With its oral delivery method, V1 targets the more than 90% that are in the body's mucosal linings of the eyes, nose, throat, lungs, intestines, reproductive organs. That's where most infections enter the body. That's where the body marshals its defenses. HIV infiltrates the very white blood cells sent by the immune system to fight it. Then more of these cells, called CD4 cells, swarm the infected cells and become infected in turn. This friendly fire ultimately leads to massive cell death. Cell-mediated immunity relies on a second type of white blood cell, CD8, or killer cells. The broken down viral material in the V1 pills, according to Dr. Burinbayar, enables CD8 cells to recognize the infected CD4 cells and then hunt them down and kill them. Stories of remarkable recoveries are almost routine at the Bambakong Clinic. The clinic is entirely staffed by patients who credit their lives to the V1 pills. But statistical evidence of V1's efficacy has been slow to accumulate. Mr. Vichai's and Dr. Burenbayer's first clinical trial results were published in January 2002 in the peer-reviewed medical journal HIV Clinical Trials. The 40 patients in the study had mean increases of 18% in CD4 cells and 16% in CD8 cells. Other studies await publication. Dr. Burenbayer analyzed weight change in 650 patients over 6 months. 60% gained weight and 15% remained unchanged, while 25% lost weight, an average increase of 2.2 kilos. The 60% that gained weight averaged increases of 4.7 kilos. Mr. Vichai has completed a double-blind placebo trial with 20 volunteers who don't have HIV. 10 took V1 for 2 weeks, and 10 took a placebo. The placebo group showed no change, but all 10 volunteers taking V1 had CD4 and CD8 increases averaging 25 to 30%. Something, seemingly, is in those V1 pills. Doctors monitor levels of CD4 cells to measure the progress of HIV infection. A healthy person has about 1,000 CD4 cells in a cubic millimeter of blood. When the count drops below about 200, people start to fall prey to opportunistic infections that normally pose little threat. Terminal AIDS patients can have CD4 counts in the single digits. Their immune systems are running on empty. Many hospitals in Thailand routinely refuse admission to AIDS patients. These bags contain the ashes of more than 5,700 people who died in a hospice at the Buddhist temple Wat Prabat Nampu. In July 2001, Dr. Orapan Metadilokul, one of Thailand's foremost epidemiologists, led a team to the hospice and offered V1 to 117 last-stage AIDS patients. These wards are giant petri dishes for all the virulent opportunistic infections that ultimately kill. Rampant tuberculosis, PCP pneumonia, Kaposi sarcoma, cytomegalovirus leading to blindness. Mycobacteria promote severe wasting. Microscopic parasites cause uncontrollable diarrhea. Toxoplasmosis migrates to the brain, resulting in dementia. Most patients suffer from multiple infections. Dr. Orapan explained the possible side effects of V1, such as a few days of diarrhea or low-grade fever. 64 patients declined the treatment. 53 decided to try V1. Ms. Suana and Ms. Bunting were in adjacent beds in the ward. Bunting could still walk, but was afraid of getting diarrhea and didn't want to take V1. Suana was blind with CMV retinitis. She'd been unable to walk or eat solid food for weeks, but she decided to try V1. Bunting died in mid-August. After only 9 weeks, all 64 who had declined the V1 treatment were dead.
Survival rate is 0, all down. But the V1 group is about 60% survive.